Welcome back.
Deborah, do you remember the first time you appeared on camera?
Oh, yes, I remember. Many years ago, I was actually on television promoting a bridal trade show that I had actually hosted it and developed it and created it. And we had models coming down staircases with wedding dresses, and I did the makeup. There was a hairdresser there. There was, of course, I was featuring a lot of the vendors at the trade show, and I completely forgot to talk about me and the makeup and the hairdresser. I talked about everybody else, but I totally forgot to talk about me, which was really hilarious. I thought, how, and afterwards I was like, how did I miss that? But hey, that's the way it works.
Things happen. You know, over the years, I've created many videos, hundreds, and I noted a list of things that are important to keep in mind to make the production of videos easier and quicker. So I thought that this morning I would share them with you.
Yeah, no,
And
that would be great. That would be good. I think it's good content and material to have because this is the perfect time. People are
yeah,
wanting to do video and they wanted to do live. So that any tips that you can give them would be honestly fantastic.
and your input will be interesting and valuable as always. So let's share this. Tips on making short videos for marketing. Ideas that will up your script. Most important, I find, is the message that we deliver when we create a video for people to watch. And some of the points that I've noted down are the duration today, not in the past. Currently, I find that people prefer, now, first of all, I'm talking about introductory marketing videos. The very first ones that a business owner makes for promoting themselves, talking about who they are, their company, what they do to help other people. The duration needs to be not more than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What do you think of that idea,
No,
Deborah?
I think that's really important because people's attention span is really shortened right now. So they really want to maximize however they're being entertained, receiving information, knowledge. They want really quick tips that they can implement. So that timing, reducing the timing as much as possible is really important.
That's right. And before we put pen to paper, we need to know what a topic of interest will be. What is the point that we want to make, talk about, and how do we want to influence our audience? It's very important to know that before we start writing anything.
Yeah, I would agree that topic of interest is, I mean, it, it's a combination. It's what interests us, but really more importantly, it's the audience that's going to be hearing and listening to us. So that topic of interest needs to be something that's top of mind for them. It's their pressing need, their pressing pain, their concern, their worry, their dreams, their hopes. So we've really got to hone in on what it is the audience is wanting and needing so that we are the solution. We can provide that for them.
Yes, the topic of interest is also important, Deborah, because it helps us identify the one point that we want to talk about. Because if we don't have a topic of interest, we're all over the place. A topic of interest helps us to focus and deliver our message in a concise and focused manner.
No, I
Oh,
agree. You were saying not speaking too fast here on the slide, not speaking too slow. There's a real pace and flow to a conversation and a dialogue of how you want to use your voice and how you want to create inflection in the voice. that becomes important in the message as well.
Yes, here it is. And you will notice that these are the speeds for presentations, for conversations, for audiobooks, and several others. And the one number that pops out is 150. I find from experience that a script 140 to 150 words is equivalent to 1 minute. So that is the best way to gauge how many words to write to cover 1 minute in time. And we don't want to speak too fast because we want the person, the listener, to understand what we are saying, to register what we are saying and internalize what we're saying. Think about what we're saying. After all, we're delivering a message which needs to have an impact on the listener so that the listener can be persuaded in some form. Deborah?
Yeah, no, I would agree. And on the opposite side, if you're speaking too slow, the audience, because their brain can move much quicker in terms of pace and being able to absorb sounds and pace much quicker. If you're talking too slowly, what happens is the audience is going to get really bored and go, "Will you just get on with it?" So again, you have to practice it. You got to temper it. You really have to get a sense of what the right feel and flow is going to be, so the audience can go, "Aha, this is the message. I'm going to continue to listen."
Yes. And once again, cover one point only. We're talking about short videos, short marketing videos. There is no time to talk about more than one point, several points. It's important to pick one point and then go deep, because when we go deep, it creates an understanding for the listener, as opposed to talking about many things, which confuses everyone, including the speaker.
Good point.
Never, what do you think of this, Deborah? Never get in front of the camera without having prepared a script. Now I'm talking about writing detail, enough detail of what exactly it is that we want to say, which means writing things down word for word and paying attention to the selection of words and the grammar that we use.
So I would say that for marketing videos, scripting out the process becomes really important, because there's a flow, a process. There's specific words that you want to use that will really hit home for the audience to pay attention and to be able to influence, to call them to action. However, for marketing videos more scripted. However, casual conversations, LinkedIn Lives, I would suggest that they're not scripted, because I would rather have people, while they can keep on point, which is great, and understanding what those points are, I think a more casual conversation, which is more authentic, works better. So again, how you're going to script and not script will depend on the type of videos that you're going to be doing.
Definitely. In a live conversation, it needs to be faster than a presentation given on video, because it's live, it's going backwards and forwards with somebody else, and it does involve more than one person, as in our case right now. You and I are speaking and taking turns, so we are actually speaking faster than the rate that one would speak at on video.
Yeah, true, definitely. So what other points have you got to share there, Moreno?
It's very important to have a strong, enthusiastic opening, because it sets the stage for the rest of the video. It gets the listener's attention and raises expectations. When you watch a video, any video, Deborah, how do you react to a video that doesn't open strongly?
You mentioned something that's really important here, and that is the energy part of this, the enthusiasm that we're opening. So when it works for video, it's really important to raise your energy level and to be more enthusiastic, not just in the beginning, but all the way through, because it's important to hold people's concentration through the session. And so that raised energy level is going to be different than if you and I were just sitting in a coffee shop having a conversation and a dialogue. The energy level would not be as intense. So bringing it up for video becomes really important. So that's why we practice. And when we're interviewing people for LinkedIn Lives, the practice sessions, we're talking about that energy level. And a lot of that is what's the expression on their face and how are they feeling from a mood point of view emotionally, because we want to elevate that so it comes across better in the camera.
Everything is energy, and energy is engaging. If there's no energy, there's no engagement, then we're on our own.
I would agree.
I feel that a person should not open with a name, because if they're there watching your video, most likely they know who the presenter is. And people are not interested to know who is speaking. They want to know what the discussion, what the presentation is about. They want something which will attract their attention, pique their interest, something engaging, something with energy. And I don't think that comes from a name. What do you think of that, Deborah?
No, I think you've hit a point which is really important here. So it's different than doing a live speaking engagement where initially the host is introducing the speaker and they're giving a bit of bio and a bit of background. But it's very different on video when these are short videos. So coming in with a strong opening, a point, making an impactful statement, sharing some great content initially, building the interest of the audience and the intrigue and the curiosity of the audience is important. Then later on, then do your introduction and keep it very short and to the point, because they can always go to a website or a landing page or look up your bio when you're directing people to specific pages later on or information. So they don't need that information initially. However, later on, as you're weaving in your message and your story, building in your authority and your credibility in there by sharing some stories. So part of your message needs to be stories, which include testimonials, those sorts of things.
Yes, at least give one sentence before announcing your name. So we've written the script and we may need to refer to it, and often we do. We prepare the script, we know what we want to say, we have practiced it, rehearsed it, and now we're going to get in front of the camera. One way that I find is effective is to have a list of bullet points, not have the complete written script that to refer to while delivering the presentation. But if required, if need be, have a list of bullet points just to remind us of the next point, for example. Have you used such scripts?
Absolutely. And I think the bullet points are really important from a timing aspect. So when you're delivering your content and information, sometimes we get caught up in the message or the story that we're forgetting the next point, or we get slightly off tangent because we suddenly think of a concept or an idea that we want to share. So that bullet point helps to keep the flow of the message going to deliver the final sort of punchline or the final call to action, or what it is that you want your client to really know or understand in that message. So, even some of the best speakers on stage, I mean, people like Jim Rohn, for instance, was standing at the lectern. He had some notes. He had his glasses on. I always loved how he kind of had his glasses down on his nose a little bit. There's no shame in that. I've often used bullet points when I'm working with lecturing or delivering information by keeping content and information handy on a lectern to off to the side. So I think it's important to do that from a timing aspect, but also just to make sure that you are really keeping top of mind. What is the next point that you want to be able to deliver?
Yes, and this slide is as important. Don't memorize the presentation word for word. because you will never remember every word. However, what is important is to speak from the heart, which means internalizing what it is that we want to say, know it well, and speak with passion. Then we will deliver the best delivery possible. I'm
Yeah,
sure
and
this has happened to you, Deborah.
no, definitely internalizing. I mean, really, whatever message you're sharing, I think it's really important for the audience to remember the passion part that you mentioned. But this is really truly believing in what it is that you're saying and the message that you're delivering. That is really key, because that is where people now build their trust in you, is because you're believing in that message. There's one other point that I wanted to add about the bullet points and why that's so important too, because often the audience is wanting to write things down, and those bullet points could be the key elements that you want to share with an audience, whether it's live, a video live, or whether, it is a LinkedIn live or a Facebook live, whatever platform we're using. But again, developing those key points to go write this down, and then you're remembering to tell them what to write down, and then you're building on that story or concept or idea.
Deborah, now I've listed some points about how we should present ourselves in front of a camera. I'm sure you can relate to most of these. Let's look at the first one here. Looking at the camera as we speak. So many people don't do that. And we've seen that with the COVID, which has forced so many people online to present on camera. They look down, but they never look at the lens. It's the same as it's important to make eye contact with the audience, with the persons that we're speaking to. And yes, it comes with practice. It's not easy for most people. However, everybody will learn to do it by practicing.
Great. I mean, for the audience, just so that they have an understanding, my camera, which is a Logitech camera, is sitting on top of my screen. So this is the camera, and I'm looking into the camera. However, I have, two screens. I've got a laptop down below. I've got two other screens that are sitting on a platform. So the left-hand screen is where the PowerPoint is, where I can see Marino's image and my own image here. But, I can glance back and forth and kind of have a look. But predominantly, if I'm speaking to a person on camera, it is the camera that I want to look at. And that is the part that people need to be aware of. Where is your camera? And then focusing that as if, and you're pretending as if that's the person's eyes that you're looking at. And there's nothing wrong with looking down or looking away or looking to the point, but basically, this is their face. This is their eyes that you want to look into.
So we need to make a mental switch, because people first want to look at the screen because it is on the screen where we see people who are listening to us, and we feel reassured that there is somebody there, that someone is listening, and that in fact things are working because things are moving on the screen. But by making a mental switch and focusing on the camera, one is able to visualize all this that we've been seeing on the screen. And we can also visualize the person that we're speaking to. For example, now I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking at the camera and I'm visualizing you. I'm speaking to you, Deborah.
Yeah, those are great points. There's one other factor I wanted to add in here. By looking at the camera, it really hones in your concentration and your ability to hear, which means you're not using a combination of looking at the person's face and watching them talk. You're looking at the camera, and then you are really concentrating on the tone of voice and the words being said. So it's going to home in some different skill sets for you as an audience, being aware of that, and they're all to your benefit.
That is such a good point that you raised. You're right. There are so many other things on the screen or screens that will distract us. However, if we look at a blank lens, because there's not much going on there, in fact, nothing, then suddenly our attention falls on what we're hearing, and we pay attention to what is being said. And so many people are very poor at really listening. This device, the lens, forces us to pay attention to becoming good listeners. I like that.
Yep, good skill to develop. And the
Yes.
smiling part, the genuine, the eyes, the smiling. I mean, it's loving the person and caring for the person that you're talking to and having a genuine interest in the person that you're speaking with, but knowing that there is a whole group of other people on the other side of that lens that are watching, whether live now or in the future at a recording. So being aware that you're having a conversation with them as well.
Smiling is very important. Yes, not smiling only with the mouth, but with the eyes as well. It's super engaging, and people feel that you're truly interested in them and
Right.
passionate about what you're saying. Yeah, people who are listening and people who have this list think that it's overwhelming. There are so many things to take into account. And indeed, there are many small points, small, however, all very important, and they all need to be taken into account. It comes with practice, 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 practice. The best time always is to start now, and with time, things become easier as we start remembering them, and these become habits. We don't have to think about them anymore, they just happen.
Yeah, and like you say, the best time is now. That is the time to start. So by putting it off, you're only delaying the inevitable and creating more angst and fear and anxiety within yourself. So the idea is jump in, everybody starts somewhere, and then you're going to get more comfortable with the process. And then I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it.
Yes. An important three-letter word, act. Two words, act now. Both three-letter words. What do you think of this one, Deborah? Have you noticed how many people, which we got to see because of COVID, where people flocked to online meetings, how poorly they did at the beginning, although many have improved dramatically over the last 2 years. But initially, do you remember how people would sit low in their chair and we would see just the top of their heads, sometimes not even see their mouths? This is the correct sitting position where a person's head is close to the top of the frame, as with you and I. And the persona should fill up about 1/3 of the frame. I think I'm filling up a little bit less than 1/3 of the frame now. You're a little bit bigger. You're about 1/3 of the frame. So your positioning on the screen is ideal, Deborah.
You
You're
know,
a natural.
a lot of that is the comfort level. I know many people that want to be much closer to the camera, and that's okay too. They're for a variety of different reasons. I want to showcase other things that are of interest to me in my life, in my background. The painting behind me, this charcoal painting here. My Think and Grow Rich record, which was my dad's. So sometimes it's just about featuring part of a space as well as you, or you can get a little bit more intimate with the camera and get a lot closer. It's a personal thing, but I think if there's a little bit of space behind you, I think that feels good in the moment, and make it's more comfortable for you as the speaker. It's more comfortable for the audience as well.
And I like your background.
Thank you.
A background should never be messy and should complement the person's topic and persona. And yours, I think, does just that. Look at
Yeah,
that.
I have a
Pretty
real
good.
love for, the bright colors. Having a pond behind me, and I know that this is kind of an abstract Monet that a friend had done. But a lot of that is part of who I was as a childhood, playing in ponds and bringing home little tadpoles in the mom's bathtub. So it's a reflection of who I am as a person. So I think you're choosing a space and what's really important to you. I mean, I've changed up my space. Sometimes I bring a plant in. that's off to the side. I've added in a series of books that are some of my favorite books, that are part of things that I refer to on a regular basis. So this is my space. It's my working space and it's my creativity space. So this is the space that I'm choosing to work with clients from. But I'm also, anytime I do video, this is the space that I'm in. And I'm comfortable in this space. I've made this space my own.
It makes you comfortable. It also makes the viewer comfortable. Makes the viewer more relaxed. It's easygoing. What I also like about your setup, Deborah, is your lighting level.
Yeah, the lighting, I think, is such an important factor, and you can use it with a variety of different things. I actually have a ring light on today, and I have to say that while natural lighting is, you and I have talked about this, you have a window in your office. I don't. I'm in a basement office, and I've specifically structured it to have no windows in here and to be more cocooned and with soundproofing, so I can do recording. And I do have LED lights. So the ring light actually helps because you could modify and make it warmer or cooler. But here's the thing. I don't always like the ring light. And for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes I'm putting on my bifocals or my magnifiers and you can see the ring reflecting in it. The other factor is it's incredibly bright on my eyes. So it's hard on the eyes, is basically. So if you're doing a lot of video, you may choose to have it on or not, but you can put lamps. I mean, I have a lamp to my right, I've got a lamp behind me, but I can choose to put another type of a lamp on the other side that brings in more light without directly impacting how my vision works. So all these things you need to consider when it comes to lighting.
Now, clearly you've given this a lot of thought. It didn't just happen overnight. And the result that you've been able to achieve is quite remarkable because everything is well lit.
Okay, so I want to show the audience a little bit of a difference. So this is with a ring light on, and that's with it off. Okay, so you can see the difference. And sometimes it's the positioning of the ring light and how it works for you. So these are things that we play with on a LinkedIn Live to be able to support you.
This is another example where practice makes perfect. It probably will not work the first time around. As you say, we need to try different combinations, different types of lights until we find a combination that works. On the one hand, we want to make sure that the light intensity level is good enough so that the camera, because we know that cameras love light. On the other hand, we need to not have too much light because it may interfere with what we are doing. We might be blinded by the lights that we have in front of us. For example, in my case, my light is up on the corner of the ceiling. I can't have it too low, otherwise it blinds me. And there would be a lot of reflection of my glasses.
Good points.
Tripods. The camera should always be on a tripod. Well, in our case, we are using built-in cameras on our laptops, and our laptops are naturally resting on something. In my case, a box, so my laptop is not moving, and something similar in your case. But for those people especially that use handheld devices like mobile phones, it's very important to have a tripod to hold the camera still so that it doesn't shake. For example, here's an example of one that I'm using now. I have my cell phone on a tripod to prevent any kind of shake.
Yeah, and it's all quality in the variety of them, and you want to make sure that whatever you've got, it's got maybe some adjustable legs to come up to eye level, so you're looking right into the camera. My camera, because it's a Logitech, it actually sits on top of my computer screen, not my laptop. So it actually is sitting just slightly above eye level, just ever so slightly, which I'm okay with. So again, it's a personal thing, but I hate it when people are their laptop is down and you're looking up their nose basically. So a lot of it is and you're seeing the ceiling, half the ceiling. So again, this is where we help you with some of the very subtle aspects that are going to make a real difference in how you're conversing with people.
You raised a very important point that I forgot to note. The eye needs to be at camera level, horizontal. I've mentioned this to people in the past and they would say to me, but my eyes are at camera level. Well, the camera's down there and they're looking at their lens and they think, well, my eyes are at lens level, or they're looking up. Well, my eyes are at lens level, horizontal. You want to be looking at the camera like you and I are now. Here's another important device, an external microphone. Very important. Do you have one as well, Deborah? An external microphone?
I do have a Yeti Blue mic. It is not plugged into my computer, and I'm actually not using it today, but I have Logitech speaker, so a high-end camera with a built-in speaker. And your opinion, Moreno, how does the sound work?
It sounds very good. I cannot tell the difference between a Yeti or the current microphone, which is external, by the way, to your computer that you are using.
So again, it's all test and measure and see what works for you.
Yes. And together with the microphone, it's very important to kill any external noises. If we have any fans running in the room or any noise that we can lock out, we need to do that because we need a quiet background, as our backgrounds are now.
That's good. Yeah, good points.
We've covered a lot of points, a lot of things that one needs to take into account to produce a good quality marketing video, professional video. It's important to set everything up correctly once. You've done that, Deborah. Your background, for example, and the way that you've set your equipment up, you did not do that this morning. No, I imagine it is always set up like that. That is your studio. It is ready to go at a moment's notice.
Yeah, and it's the prep part too. So I want you to know that anytime if I do an interview, if I'm working with clients, I set my background. This is my working space behind me as well too. So again, all that is cleared off whenever I have appointments. So I have a clean background, and that's really important. So there's always just a few minutes of prep. But if all your tech is set up and in place, and it stays in place for you, then you are ready if you need to do a fast interview.
Yes, because if we don't have everything set up and ready to go, it will take a long time to get it ready to go. And quite frankly, it's a huge waste of time, especially if we want to make videos. For example, Deborah, if you wanted to make videos, as you sometimes do, there's not much preparation for you. You're quite ready to go as you are. And the other benefit also is that it helps us to focus on the message, on the spoken word, our delivery, our behavior in front of the camera, not to be distracted by all the gadgets around us.
I agree.
And Deborah, we don't have to be perfect. Nobody has to be perfect online. Actually, no one is expecting us to be perfect. No one is looking for a Hollywood actor. Maybe it was like that a few decades ago. It's not like that now anymore. We want to see people as they are, who they are.
Yeah, that relaxation now becomes more important than ever because, listen, Moreno and I don't do things perfectly. And the reason why is because if you were looking at us and going, everything is pristine and perfect, I can't do that, or I'm not capable of doing it, it's going to take me a long time to get to that level. We don't want you thinking that way. So we want you to be comfortable. This is a conversation and a dialogue. So any even messaging in the interviews are conversations and dialogues, which are really important to create that trust and authenticity. And so you're going to relax and your audience is going to relax.
That's right. Viewers want to be able to relate to us and make them feel that we are like them. Be yourself, which comes with practice. And also, the other meaning in the slide is that when we have practiced and we get in front of the camera, then we can be ourselves. Because if we haven't practiced, if we're not prepared, hell, we will never be ourselves in front of the camera. It'll be chaos.
Yeah, and the intimidation factor. Really good point there, Moreno.
Always appear presentable. Wear clothes that you're comfortable in. And also, don't wear patterns like squares and lines. They tend to confuse the camera. I'm wearing some horizontal lines now, but they're very far apart and they're thin, and the camera doesn't mind. But if the squares are too close to one another or the lines are very tight, then one gets the moya effect on video and it doesn't look nice. Always end strong, Deborah. You've presented many times on stage, and I bet you've always ended strong. Tell us about that.
You know, sometimes when you're weaving together a story from the beginning through to the middle and off to the end, you're keeping one of the most important points at the very end of the presentation. And that's what gets the audience really excited. And I think that's really important. So you can do that for an online event. You can do that in your messaging. You can do it in a full-blown speaking presentation. But again, what it is takeable points. People go, am I being entertained in the moment, or am I getting nuggets of information here that actually I can take and use immediately? That becomes really an important factor to really think through, you know, what is the purpose of the overall message that you're delivering?
Yes, and we need to have a call to action at the end. We want the viewer to do something, not left hanging.
I agree.
And we have a call to action. So this is an example. We give the viewers two options. The one is to get going with short videos for marketing. How? By being a guest on our LinkedIn Live, Deborah.
That's a fantastic idea, and we want them to get started right away.
They can create their first short marketing video all online with our guidance and help, hand-holding. It's also their opportunity to increase their visibility, exposure, and influence, which means they will get better known, liked, and the most important word, trusted.
I agree. Absolutely. So this is your opportunity. And what else do you want to share with us, Moreno?
The second option. What do you think the second option is, Deborah? Yeah. We're still in the first option. I'm jumping the gun here. So direct message us now for a discovery session. It will be an opportunity for you to ask us your questions. There's no commitment. There's no risk. It's the best way to get started. You have nothing to lose.
And it's a great opportunity for us to get really clear about what you're wanting to accomplish and to see if it's a good fit, because it's not going to be a good fit for everyone. So all it is it's a conversation and us to have a conversation over coffee or your favorite beverage.
Yes, and it's an opportunity for us to get to know one another. You never know what may lay in store. Now, for the other option, do nothing. And for sure, nothing will happen.
Yeah, and I mean, really, from a marketing standpoint, we want to constantly develop ourselves and get more visible. We want to make sure our brand and our company is more visible. So this is the opportunity to make that happen.
Deborah, I've shared all my points. You've given some very interesting information from your experience, which I greatly appreciate. And I'm sure that those viewing this will benefit tremendously from the input that you've provided. What is left to
Always a
say
pleasure.
is,
It's always a pleasure, Moreno, being here with you.
everyone, have a great weekend. You too, Deborah, and see you all next time.
Bye, everyone.